What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your daily creative reading for November 8th. So I'm settled into my new space a little bit more, so it's very exciting, but I did my first tarot video yesterday for today, or today for yesterday, tomorrow. What day is it? Where am I? Who am I? No, I'm kidding. Moving vibes, am I right? So this, I'm gonna do this reading here. I'm super excited. Settling in post-moving is ridiculous. I have bruises that I did not realize like they're starting to come out from just moving boxes and walking into things, because that's how I do sometimes. But anyways, let's maybe I'm hearing sense of direction. Perhaps you need that. A cautious compass is what I heard. Cautious compass. That's interesting. My roommate's cat Ella is here as well, so she's bringing in some good vibes. Okay, so expect powerful change. New moon eclipse, which we just had. I recorded the video for tomorrow this morning after I watched the lunar eclipse. So my bedroom window faces west, and I was just having some coffee, and even this living room, the window's here, and it faces west. And you could see the sunset, you could see the sunsets, but then the benefit of that is you could see the moon set as well. So it was quite nice. So expect powerful change. Let's see where we're going today. Luck is on your side. I like this. I feel like if, Jay Kitts Cole on Instagram talked about this a while ago, where he said, like if you've been doing the work, the eclipse may actually just be fun. And it's kind of been that way a little bit, but, and even if you're not, like there's still fun in whatever's going on. So I think it's like believing that luck is on your side. It's the new moon in Sagittarius, so it could be Sag in your chart, and new moon, a new start is coming. New. These are like pentacles. That's what's got pentacles. No, I was gonna say aces, but we have the new moon eclipse. We have the new moon in Sagittarius, and then we have the broadly speaking new moon. So if you were wondering, a whole lot of new is coming in for you, which is excellent energy. I'm gonna use the Light Seers Tarot, one of my faves. Now that I'm getting settled into the space, I'm probably gonna change up some of the readings and maybe integrate more of the sign-specific ones, just to kind of build more of a base and offer people specific info, more targeted. There she is. There's Ella. Hi, baby. She's really good at parkour. So she's very sweet. She's about a year old and just a darling. My roommate has already been like, why does she hang out in your room all the time? You've been here for 3 days. Right? Yeah, parkour. Anyway, let's dive in here and see. Oh, wow. Okay, so the call to adventure is the Two of Swords and the Lovers. I think that this energy here is telling me that there's decisions you have to make, big decisions, but they show up in the minutia of the everyday, right? Like this strikes me as like small scale decisions to an extent. Like every choice we make takes us somewhere we need to go, right? So what I'm getting here is that this is really kind of the call to adventure is the ways that you set yourself up for success in the everyday. The things that seem like they're not that consequential, right? They don't seem like they're that consequential or important, but then they end up taking you somewhere you really needed to go. Can you tell me about the refusal energy here? What's the refusal energy? Seven of Swords. Maybe giving more than you receive. I'm hearing like over giving. And that can be a way that you kind of drain your own energy and steal from yourself, especially if you're not willing to set good boundaries, or if you don't necessarily have good, it's a skill. Like that's a boundary. It's like a muscle, right? A good book for that I was reading that has actual scripts in it, Glennon Doyle and Abby and sister talked about this on one of their recent podcasts, but Melissa Urban has a book on boundaries that I found very good. It is excellent. I checked it out at my library, and honestly, it's fantastic. So do check that out if that's a resource or a skill you're looking to build. Ooh, Queen of Cups, part of the refusal too. Self-care. Yeah, maybe you've been overgiving and there's a need for self-care, kind of going within. Not just staying in touch with your intuition and tapped into that, because I feel like the Queen of Cups is about that too, but I think it's about how are you feeling when you're doing a thing? and staying tapped into that, right? Like, and listening to your body. Where does it restrict? Like for me, I carry a lot of stress in my upper back and my neck. So it's like, if that's stiff, if I'm doing this and it's cracking like it just did now, ooh, that's more moving than boundaries. But sometimes our energy gets stuck in our body, and that can be that stiffness. So it's like, where does that sit? Like, how are you responding and reacting to other people around you and other situations too? And understanding the signals that your body is sending you through things like your emotions, and your emotions are valid, but sometimes if we listen to them, all the time, so how do I word this? It's important to listen to them all the time. Sometimes, though, they are temporary states, and it's about listening to the temporary state for that and just being present to it, so that we're not allowing emotions in moments that don't indicate much other than frustration, right? If we're frustrated, it can mean something else, but sometimes it's okay to just be frustrated, right? So it's not making a mountain out of a molehill necessarily, but it's about understanding that difference and fine-tuning your receptors, right? I'm seeing the Queen of Cups as this almost like showing up as a little satellite dish. It's like showing up as a little satellite dish where it's like allowing you to see. And maybe you're making choices and decisions while you're laying this groundwork for the new, like this new framework. The thing that could become a tower if it goes unchecked is the Three of Pentacles. I almost see this as like a reverse traffic light. Like it's like the signals are kind of scrambled. So it could be the tower is that signals are scrambled when you're working with other people. It could be working on creative projects, even in work settings. Like, how are you saying yes and meaning yes? How are you saying no and meaning no? In ways that allow for collaboration to be clear and even and free. And the point is for them to be free, so that there's not this sense of, well, I have to bring this part of me to work. I have to bring this part of me here. And this part of me can't come with me because of X, Y, and Z, right? So we also have the High Priestess showing up as the protagonist energy. Intuition. Like this is, so it's showing up as the Queen of Cups and the High Priestess together. Your intuition is going to be and is so important. Not just the emotional inflection of that, but also the High Priestess, your general intuitive, I guess I want to say hits, like, and that's where the Two of Swords can represent this need to go within, where you're looking for answers outside of you. And there's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes we have to take in information, but the Two of Swords represents that you have enough information, right? So it's about what are we doing with that, and how are we translating that into real world action? Three of Pentacles, something grounded. The Wheel is the antagonist energy. So I feel like you might feel like the changes are kind of happening against your will, but the point isn't to look at it like that, because if it's against your will, it means that you're helpless to it. It means that you can't advocate for your best version. It means you can't grow. It means you can't change, right? So this is about leaning into the flow of things, which this Queen of Cups energy is a great example of being in the flow. Same thing with your intuition. It's being in the flow. And I think that this change, it doesn't have to be like earth shattering. Sometimes changes are just small little things that happen in the everyday, right? I'm a big believer, especially in any kind of relationships that we have, that the little things are the big things. So I think that the Wheel is in the antagonist position. It may feel like you're a bit like, whoa, like caught up with this. And especially, pulling the eclipse energy on the first one, like the first card in this spread is expect powerful change. And it's like, I think you need to remember, this is Jupiter as well, right? You might need to remember that luck is on your side, because when we're in the new, we don't know where we are yet. And this is especially true. There's Ella again. I call her Ella Bella. It's only been like 3 or 4 days and I'm already giving the cat nicknames. What? Eva's in my room, so she's kind of hanging out doing her thing and having her daily nap. So but there's so much new here. And there's also a sense of like not being able to necessarily see, because it's all new moon energy, right? So it's not necessarily being able to see. And when that happens, it can leave us feeling like we have to make these big decisions, right? These big choices. Could be soul mate energy in terms of like connections with work, relationship, that kind of thing. But the Two of Swords to me says that there's decisions in the everyday that will illuminate the path. You may feel like you have no idea where you're going, but the point is to listen to your emotions and let those guide you when there's so much new, to let that tell you what you need to be moving towards, to let that inform your decisions and decision-making power too, because you do have more than you know. What's the main challenge here, Spirit? What's the main challenge? Ooh, Nine of Swords. I think that showed up in tomorrow's reading too. Nine of Swords is the main challenge. It's like getting out of your head, because there's certain signs. It's almost like this white dove, right? And it's whoa. Okay, thank you, Spirit. I'm seeing like a white flag being waved, right? And I think it's like you can wave the white flag in terms of surrender, but what I'm seeing here is like surrendering your need to overthink things because you assume that will give you control or give you a way to see the path forward. Because overthinking can only do so much. You can only see so many different things in front of you before, and you can only think about those for so long before you get what you need from them. And then what, right? And then what? What's the overcoming energy here, Spirit? Page of Swords. I think that this is like a bit of, so there's several things coming through on this. It's like learner's energy. It's like you're getting your learner's permit for driving your high priestess. Like your intuitive vehicle. Like you're getting your G1 for those of you from or in Ontario. You're getting your G1. You read the driver's handbook. Literally what this person is, you're reading the handbook. And I think that this is a bit of like learn as you go, right? Grow as you go. And understanding that on the path, the answers will come to you. And this is also, I think, understanding that there's a balance, right? I'm seeing this like fine balance here, very fine balance. And coming back into balance is part of this. It would not shock me if there's Libran energy here. I just like, it's like coming off the cards a bit. I didn't even see that. That was on the bottom. Yeah. Big balance. Big time balance. I'm putting that here because that's definitely what you're waking up to, is this sense of coming back into balance. Thank you so much, Spirit. That was beautiful. Coming back into balance. Temperance is underneath. What? Good Lord. Spirit's like, I'm saying what I'm saying. Punctuation mark. Major arcanas. But yeah, so I feel like what you're waking up to is a better sense of balance internally and the way that expresses externally. Right? I feel like temperance is also having a bit of patience with yourself in the process, not just for intuitive purposes, but when there's so many things that are new. And this could be as simple as setting a boundary where you feel like you're not overgiving anymore, right? Seven of Swords, Queen of Cups, taking care of yourself just that little bit better. And the ways that is helping you to make better decisions in your everyday that make you feel excited about change or make you feel happy with it, that make you feel like you're the architect of your life. Because if we're overgiving, our cup can be so depleted, our Queen of Cups, like our self-care, our emotional self-awareness can be so depleted that the decisions that we make, we feel like we're making reactionary decisions as opposed to ones that are a little bit more grounded. What? She agrees. This little bean. Come here. She's just like a little noodle. Hi, you. I don't know why. Like, other people's cats. I'm like, look at this. So cute. So adorable. I'm pet people, but this cat, let me tell you, you're so cute. And you know it too. So I'm just going to keep her here. But I feel like that's where it's like your cup can be so depleted and empty that you don't have a way of really knowing where you are because the decisions you're making don't feel intentional. Because how can you be intentional when you're disconnected from that emotional sense, right? So, oh, she's so cute. This cat. Eva is like, it's like a peace process. There's like a little bit of a diplomatic thing happening here with the two cats, but this one's getting ready for some sleepy times. Here you go, baby girl. There you go. Oh, I know. So cute. What is the main theme here, Spirit? I have a feeling I know already, but what's the main theme here? I'm seeing like a funnel, not funnel cloud, like a funnel as in like things that you would use for baking. I bought some and I used them to put windshield washer fluid in my car. So I got these like bigger ones, but so it's maybe you're doing something to clear the windshield. Like there's a way that you're funneling information to clear your proverbial windshield. That's, I don't know. We'll roll with it. We'll roll with it. I kind of feel like clearing the windshield. 8 of Cups. Yeah. The Magician, Ten of Pentacles, wowza, Judgment, Ace of Pentacles, yeah. I get nosy, so I keep pulling. But you got, like, this is, it's almost like this is like clearing the windshield, like the funnel. It's like there's, I saw like the drain down, and that's what this is kind of representing here. Like you're walking away. You're walking away. The, you know, what cups didn't work, and I almost feel like cups are like emotional investments, and what you were investing your energy into, right? Were you investing your energy into validation from other people? Were you investing your energy into hope that, like, it's almost like we can work against our best interests because we can attach to emotion, we can attach emotion to outcomes, which is important to do in some cases, but it's like when you attach that to something that isn't there it will never serve you, right? So you're constantly spinning your wheels and asking what you're doing and asking what's wrong and asking all of these different things when it just wasn't meant for you, right? And the more that you pour into that, the less that you have. So I like this energy, this sort of, the way that the Seven of Swords and the Eight of Cups are kind of in conversation here, because it's almost like you recognize this. And I feel like this is like a recognition of emotional patterns and patterns in general. And you're just kind of saying, okay, you know what? I'm taking ownership for what's mine, and everything else, like, this is what you're waking up to, right? And the main theme, you're waking up to the need for balance. And I think too that the Eight of Cups to me is like walking away, the way it's showing up here, from emotional neglect, like you're neglecting yourself. Like that's, you know, with the Seven of Swords as part of the refusal of this hero's journey, right? And then we have the Magician energy, which tells me a little bit more about the capacity that you have to create right now. And it's like you recognize your own power. The moment that you step away from those patterns, from that patterning, and from that behavior, is when you step back into your power. When you step back into that place of, yes, I have more capacity to do this than I realize. And I feel like that's where you begin to plant these seeds for a Ten of Pentacles, kind of, I want to say legacy energy. Ooh, let's not flip the table. There's a candle on it right there, so I'm prioritizing that. But it's like you step into this invested energy, right? And it's like you've been emotionally investing, and then there's something about this that becomes more real. And I want to say it becomes more real not because it wasn't before, but you begin to see the power that you have to create a Ten of Pentacles, instead of assuming that it just, like, in some ways things fall into your lap. And I've said this before on the channel a while ago, but it's like some things do. And what you do with those things, right? Those opportunities, those intuitive hits, those synchronicities, those things fall into your lap. What do you do with them, right? And the Ten of Pentacles is one that you have to build. And as soon as you start to plant seeds, there's a lot of decision energy here. And sometimes that's the arbiter, you know, the arbiter of change. That's really interesting. That's not what I was meaning to say, but it's sort of like the bringer of change. And in some ways, the bringer of light too, especially with this Magician and the new moon energy being and representing the lack thereof in terms of being able to see more clearly under moonlight, right? Things that we can't see, that are unclear to us, which is often the case with change, where the High Priestess would show up and say, you need to kind of go within because there's some things you just can't see right now on the path. And I feel like you start to make better decisions that bring the light in, and that's what you're prioritizing, instead of voices outside of you, instead of all these other things that you've been investing in long term that haven't been there necessarily to serve you. You start to see these patterns in yourself, and that's where you begin to plant the seeds for that 10. That's where the new starts to really come in, right? So it's like you clear up your energy in the process of doing this. You clear up your energy. And this could just be adopting new habits, right? And it is hard when you start to adopt new habits, when you've been giving and over-giving. People may have issues at first because they don't know how to respond to this version of you. And they may take it personally, where they say, well, I'm not getting this from you. I'm not getting X, Y, and Z thing. So they pull back and they get a little bit frustrated. But the point isn't to get upset at that. The point isn't to be upset with these new boundaries or new lines being drawn in the sand, so to speak. The point is to celebrate that. I read once that boundaries are not somebody wanting to keep you out of their life. And this is so true. And I've said this to other people before, but it's not others wanting to keep you out of their life or out of their lives. It's other people giving you a way to stay in them, right? So that's the other important thing to remember too. And that you deserve good boundaries. You deserve the peace that comes from that, right? You know, I talked early on this channel about peace and cultivating it within you. And it was really amidst a bit of chaos that I was doing that and talking about that. And you know, more and more as you grow and as you, you know, journey on the path, it's like, especially moving and things like that for me now, it's like peace takes on different meanings, right? Peace takes on different meanings. So it's allowing that to change too in the process of developing boundaries, because you'll have epiphanies about yourself and about your world and where you are and your relationships with others and the emotional investments that you're making. And it'll show up completely differently on the path. But, you know, hopefully the lessons that you learn are new, and continue to grow and evolve and build, right? Life is so cumulative. It's so cumulative. So on that note, let me pull, this is a bit of a shorter reading, but I wanted to do one today. I was so excited. I was like, I did one for tomorrow and I was like, that's the first one. Yay. And then I got home from just going for a little walk around the neighborhood and I was like, you know, no, I'm going to do one for today. It's just going to be released a little later, but that's fine. This is the Super Attractor deck by Gabrielle Bernstein. I feel like this eclipse energy is it's good attractor energy. It's good attractor energy. Attractor energy just in the sense, let me qualify this. Attractor energy just in the sense that you see where you are and you see your own patterns and you pull back and you're able to just look at the landscape before you and manifest from that beautiful, beautiful place of seeing yourself really clearly and the lessons and what you value and seeing the shifts and how that changes and grows. You know, I can say, you know, as a fixed sign, a lot has changed. A lot has changed through this eclipse season. Lot. So for my fixed signs, I hope that y'all are doing good. Well, I should say. All right, I feel a little Jupiter on this one. As soon as I choose to see the light in dark corners, I redirect my power toward what I want. And that's what this judgment energy, wow, this is so beautiful. Thank you, Spirit. That's what this feels like, right? Where you look for the light in things. So as soon as I choose to see the light in the dark corners, I redirect my power toward what I want. Yes, right? That's what that judgment energy is. And then what you want finds you on the path. And that's where you may feel like, wow, that just fell into my lap. But you've been doing this work. You've been doing the work over and over. So that's it. And so wanting more for others puts me into an energy of abundance. Wanting more for others puts me into an energy of abundance. More kind of new moon energy on that as well. So it could be some of your relationships and the ways that you're operating within them and allowing your vision of abundance to expand, not just for other people, but for yourself through that too, right? Feeling good will bring me far more than whatever I thought I needed. Is the last card here. Oh, she's just, she just gets these, like, she has to run. Like, she's a year old, so she just has to take off, right? You just gotta run. Feeling good will bring me far more than whatever I thought I needed. I think this is just a call to cultivate the garden of your emotional landscape, to cultivate the garden of your emotions. And it's not about weeding the things that feel bad. It's about leaning into all of it and just sitting with it and asking what it has to teach you. Because sometimes, you know, if you've been through a lot of trauma, as I have, and as I know many others have too, you can put things in the way of feeling. And because you think, well, I don't want to feel that. And, you know, you'll get triggered by things. And it's about just sitting with it and saying, wow, like, what is this really, what is this communicating to me? Not just about me, but about my expectations and about my relationship and how relationships, I should say, and how, and because I was thinking my relationship to this thing that is triggering, right? So what that alone, but then thinking about just your connections to people too. So about my relationship to this trigger, how is this, you know, what is here for me to learn? And sometimes there's nothing to learn. Sometimes it's just sitting with the trigger, and sometimes it's just sitting with the emotions of it and not running from that and showing up for it fully. Because it's, on the one hand, you'll learn about your personal power, but then on the other hand, you'll learn so much as well about it's not about what you can handle. It's not just about resilience, right? Because a lot of people talk about this, and I've seen memes that talk about this too, where it's like, I don't want to be resilient all the time. Sometimes I want to be, you know, whatever, I don't want to say the opposite of that is, right? You want to be something, you want to be fulsome and expansive without the need to constantly be resilient, right? So I get that too. And I think that spirit is working behind the scenes. Like I almost see the major arcana here that just came through as spirit working behind the scenes for where they're showing up, right? Your protagonist is the high priestess. Change may feel like it's an antagonist here, but the point is that change is happening regardless. The antagonist positionality of the wheel is based on our perception. And this is informed in part by the Page of Swords being part of the overcoming of the Nine of Swords challenge, right? This being stuck in your head, overthinking, patterns of thought that really are deleterious to your well-being and mental health. And the reason why it's I see the perception as part of the overcoming is the Page of Swords is thought, right? It's like that learning how to, I want to say learning how to drive the High Priestess, which sounds weird, but roll with it, right? Roll with it. And I think it's like the sort of intuitive vehicle that is within us. The intuitive vehicle within us. And tomorrow, the Chariot was quite prominent for that reading. So do check that out if that appeals to you, if that jumps out at you. But yeah. There's something about this pentacle energy, and it's like it's almost like healing patterns of overgiving to where it just drained you emotionally. But then on the other side of that, it's like healing patterns that left you kind of, I want to say, stuck in a place of forgetting how powerful you are, because the Magician is here with the Wheel and Judgment and the Ten of Pentacles, and it follows the Eight of Cups. So it's like leaving behind preconceived notions of your power, and situations where we overgive and overgive, they drain us. So then we assume that we lack power. We assume that we lack the capacity, or that we lack the knowledge or the know-how or the whatever. We're always looking outside of ourselves for something that we need, right? And that's where you can flip the Page of Swords on its head a little bit, as instead of seeing that as like looking outside of yourself for information, which it is in a sense. The Page of Swords is like acquiring information because you know where you are, because you know yourself, right? You are more aware of yourself and where you're headed and where you're going, like where you're going, where you're headed, same thing. But yeah, there's a lot of new here, but I think it's nothing that you can't handle. And that's the key too, is like new moons and this eclipse is like, it sort of expands on our capacity or our understanding of what we can handle, right? The belief that we can't handle something. I mean, this whole process of finding the right apartment and moving and all of that, it really tested my understanding of my personal strength. I mean, like fortitude emotionally, but then actual literal strength, because moving is really difficult. But it doesn't have to be. But when you're moving, it can be arduous, right? And it's, lifting heavy boxes and all that stuff. But I feel like this is also, I think, a time based on these cards for a bit of reevaluation, right? Reevaluation with spirit helping you, as opposed to feeling like you have to do it all on your own, right? You may feel like you're walking a tightrope, and if you believe that you're alone, Nine of Swords is coming across as believing that you're alone. It's like there's sort of spirit here with this balloon, right? Spirit here with this balloon, where it's like you're recognizing that that doesn't have to be the case. You're recognizing that that doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to feel lonely, right? It doesn't, because you're really not alone. And we can feel like we're really alone in the midst of struggle when we feel like we don't have the answer, especially when something's new, right? Because all of what we are used to is upended, right? It may sound super cheesy, but a lot of, as I've been going through this, one of the things that I started doing, so the first night that I was here, I was, while I was unpacking and everything, I was, I was tuning into a lot of tarot readers on here, and just really that was helping me to anchor into something familiar, right? So it's like finding those little things that feel like familiar territory, that feel like a sense of home amidst home shifting, or work amidst work shifting, that kind of thing, right? And seeing those things as an act of self-care. For me, it was tarot. For other people, it might be going for hikes. I know I went for a nice walk the other day, but it's all new, right? It's a new neighborhood, new territory. So it's about finding the things that can anchor you into a sense of groundedness. And sometimes that's really hard to come by if there's a lot of change, if there's a lot of new. And it doesn't just relate to physical context, like an apartment. It can relate to a job. It can relate to relationship, right? We think about dating, and this just came to mind, but it's like, think about dating, right? When you're dating somebody, you're so excited. They are a whole new human being that you're getting to know, right? You're deeply curious about them, and it's getting to know them, and that is such a beautiful process. And then when we think about getting to know, a different context for ourselves, sometimes that can be really stressful, which is where this perception is really going to play a big role. Because significant change, which is typified, it's, eclipses, that's what I kind of do. And I think that energy is, we can get carried away in our perception of it being amazing or horrible, and that has to do with patterns too. But I think it's about, this is where it's like feeling good will bring me far more than whatever I thought I needed. And it's understanding that when it's your thoughts and your feelings are so tied together. So it's like choosing thoughts that like befriend your mind. We can't always control how we think and what we think, especially if you have anxiety or things like that. There are ways, though, that we can sit with that, so that we can even just be willing, right? Michael Beckwith talked about this on Instagram the other day, and it's like sometimes it's just the willingness. You just have to be willing to change. You just have to be willing to let in the good, even if you can't see it, right? Even if you can't see it, because there's a lot of new here. So I feel like there's, and change at the wheel shifts, right? There may be a bit, and it could be too, like thinking about things in terms of fate and destiny as so much bigger than where you are. Thinking about that as so much bigger than where you are can make you feel a little bit like you have no idea where you are. There's somebody else in the driver's seat. But it's about understanding that you don't need to have control all the time, right? You don't have to have control all the time. And the other thing about that too is when you don't have to have control all the time, you begin to see the way that things are fated. You begin to see the way that destiny does play out. But when you look at that as somebody else in control, right, that can lend a sense of helplessness or hopelessness even, because you're disconnected from the truth of your being, the core of your being, which is this high priestess energy, right? And it's like you may feel like you're inadequate, it's like the learner's permit, right? Getting your G1. Like thinking about it in terms of that, where you're reading the manual, but newsflash, all of us are. All of us are. None of us we have like ideas of what we're supposed to do, and that comes through in terms of personality and how we handle change. But a lot of the time, none of us have a clue. We have patterns, and Dr. Shefali Sabari says you don't live a life, you live a pattern. So it's about being a little bit easier on yourself in that as well, right? And I think that's what the Queen of Cups is like. Part of this refusal is like, are you being as gentle with yourself as you would be with a friend, as you would be with, a child, as you would be with family, if family is safe for you, right? So.